Would anyone like to make a motion? We approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion to approve the
So
minutes
moved.
from last meeting.
Second.
Any updates or corrections to it?
Actually, oddly enough, I did have a couple of questions that I wanted to ask about.
Okay, this is the time.
Let's see. Yeah, I thought it might be. One, we did have a fairly significant discussion about both the town hall solar and the town garage generator that I did not see reflected in the minutes at all. And I went to look for the recording to see if there was any way I could make a suggestion. I was going to try that, but I was unable to find a recording of it to be able to make a suggestion about that. And then there was one other piece when I remember we had something of a discussion about the projects that were involved in the joint funding with Jericho. And there was some discussion about whether we should fund them in their entirety or maybe pick one or two of them. Like, for example, the Mills River Park, everybody seemed to think it was a useful thing to do if Jericho did not do it. And I did not see that reflected in the minutes.
Are you talking about the virtual meeting that we had or the meeting before, which I think is where we have the meeting minutes from?
I don't recall. I went with the minutes that I had, and so maybe I'm mistaking a meeting then. I just, I took the minutes that were that came with our packet.
Okay, just for clarification, those minutes are from 2 meetings ago, not the last meeting.
Ah, that's probably why I looked at the wrong minutes. In which case, I may withdraw my
And we didn't.
comment.
We just we inadvertently did not, or you did not approve the minutes for that meeting. So Bill wanted to kind of come full circle and make sure that that was done. So it's for the 13th of March.
I guess I haven't really, I must have looked at, like I said, I'm looking at the wrong minutes, so I am unable to comment on that then. So, in which case my comments are withdrawn.
Okay, so now, Jennifer, which meeting are we approving the minutes for? The date?
March. So the motion is to approve the minutes from the March 13th, 2023 meeting.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so Jen, didn't you send out the minutes from our last meeting? Whoa, well, Jennifer,
I think
so much for that.
I assume she'll be back, but I don't know.
I had a bar pop up at the top of my screen that says the organizer is experiencing technical difficulties. Does anybody else have that big red bar at the top of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, here she comes.
Okay.
On March 29th, she sent out the draft minutes for what we thought was going to be our final meeting of 27th of March. So she did send them.
Okay.
So
I have not reviewed those, but
okay, March 27th was the meeting previous to this one that we did all virtual. Is that okay?
Right.
And did you receive those, Jill?
I did. It was an email of March 29th from Jennifer.
I thought I had received them too, because I called Jen with a couple questions on it.
Luke replied to that email, so did Roy and Nori.
Oh, there's Emily. Jennifer, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm here now. At the
Okay.
meeting of 3/27, you neglected to approve the minutes from 3/13. So that's what I need you to approve is the minutes from 3/13.
And that's what we just approved, wasn't it?
And you just approved them. I did
Yeah.
send you the minutes for 327. Those are the ones that Michael's has some questions about.
Well, no, because I was looking at the ones that were in the packet. So the questions wouldn't really apply.
Okay.
So I was saying I did not see our discussion reflected in those minutes, which makes sense because we didn't have it.
Okay.
Okay,
Hi,
let's move
Emily.
on.
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late.
No, you're fine. We
Oh,
literally
you
just
missed the minute approvals.
Which was remarkably
I approved the minutes.
involved.
Okay, so did everyone get the copy of the updated balance sheet for the ARPA funds?
Yes.
I did.
Okay,
Yes.
so if you looked at it and you looked at the stuff I sent out, you'll notice that the amount of money that's remaining was more than we were working with last time.
Right.
The-
I did notice
so-
that.
And, you know, I think that's a much better thing than if it would have been the other way around. But I think, as we discussed today, I think one of the things that we have to do is to decide what to do with that extra money. So let's move on to the garage generator.
I'd like
So-
clarification from Jen. I just wasn't sure was the money was in the budget and maybe it wasn't in the budget. Is the money there for that otherwise or not? Because if it's not, I'm all for funding it.
Okay, as clarification for the generator, there was a generator reserve fund. Several years ago, the town voted to take the generator reserve and put it into the highway reserve building fund. So it is in the building fund. It was $30,000. And then this winter, they bought an emergency generator, one of the things you just plug in case of emergency. When we had a power outage that lasted several days, I think it was the Christmas Eve storm, because obviously, had that persisted, they wouldn't have been able to open and close the garage doors or keep the trucks warm, etc. So I think it's somewhere in the range of 26 something thousand that was left. And then it is not in the budget. So it's not in the budget to buy the generator, but the reserve funds are available and still earmarked to purchase the generator. But the price of the generator and the cost of the generator has increased, and the equipment that they needed to power at the garage increased. And I forget what it had to do with, but.
So does that mean that so they need more money?
They're about $10,000 short if we use the reserve this summer fiscal year. Well, I guess it could be 23 or 24. If they use the complete reserve that's left, they're still going to be about 10,000 short, and it is not in the budget.
So that's why obviously you saw $10,000 on my spreadsheet, was because Jen and I had this conversation. But my real question now is that they've been talking about this generator for a long time. They put money in, they moved it here, they moved it there and everything. If we would approve some money, is there any chance that they're actually going to buy the generator?
So as your liaison, I will immediately contact as soon as that gets approved by the select board, I will be making sure all of these things happen as quickly as possible.
Good. Jen, I don't know if anybody saw my note, but I noted that between Luke's column and Bill's column, it seemed to me, and with the funds that are available, it seemed to me that if Luke upped his funding, I think from 75,000 to 100,000 in accordance with Bill, and if Bill raised his generator funding from whatever it was, maybe 10,000 up to 38,000, we have the money to do that, and we'd all end up satisfying all the top projects. That was just seemed kind of obvious to me. That might be one easy way to go.
So I'm highlighting that. So I think can you guys see my screen that I'm highlighting?
Yes.
Okay. So what Roy is talking about is that third line down, which says Harvest Crossing 75 on Luke's, 100 on Bill's. And then Luke has the town garage, which is 1, 2, 3 down at 38.4, and Bill has that at 10.
With a
Just
bunch
from my
of
point of view, I thought.
unallocated.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, with unallocated money that could pay for both of them. So that would just seem like a kind of a easy solution.
Although I don't think we need it for the generators. What I think Jennifer is saying. I mean, I feel the generator is an important investment, but I don't feel we have to be artificially throwing ARPA funds at it if we don't need to.
I agree. I didn't know until Jennifer. But what do we need for the generator to make them whole now, Jen? What's the deal on that?
That's the $10,000, the difference between what's left in the reserve fund that was earmarked for that and the new cost of the generator, which is the 38.4, which is the updated quote.
Okay. So, I understand. That's fine.
So Bill's column basically, and I thought we did approve the 100,000. In fact, I think that was 2 or 3 meetings ago when we approved the 100,000 for Harvest Crossing.
Yes.
Yes.
Approve recommending it, I guess I should say, to be strictly speaking accurate.
So I think Bill's goal, and I'm Bill, I'm speaking for you a little bit, but I think Bill's goal is to kind of go through all of these, agree, and then make a motion to approve them. So, Bill, which sheet do you want me to show you? This one, the master sheet?
This one, right? Let's do this one right here.
Okay, you guys go.
Before we go any further, the other thing that I did was to round up the numbers to the 100 position, so we don't end up with the ones that were 6753 or something like that. So that's why you'll see a few differences between Luke and I, and one of those, for example, is on the solar panel, which was requested at 49,456, and I just upped that up to 49,500.
I noticed your town hall renovations, you have $3 in there. That must be for a slice of pizza at Mountain High or something.
That's because if you notice, the total amount that we're working with now has $3 at the end. So that's why I just put that there. So as long as we're talking about the town garage, are we in agreement for putting in $10,000?
That works for me.
Okay, very good. So let's go up to the top then and just come down the list. So the sidewalk project, which we had at 202,694. All the discussions that we had we need to continue on with that and come up with the number we want to put in there. So Michael, why don't you start this, because you have some strong feelings about it.
Sure. I think I think funding the sidewalk project makes a lot of sense. What I would like to do is just to give a couple of little brief background here. One is there is a lot of extra money that is not ARPA funds that are available for a variety of transportation projects. That would include sidewalk projects, and that would include other transportation projects, town highway bridge program, other town highway improvements. We can get access to those. We don't necessarily have to look at the ARPA project as funding the entire thing. Now, that said, the funds that ARPA does contain are available to match other projects. Pretty much everything else is around the 80% level. So in other words, we would need to come up with 20% of whatever we come up with, even if we get additional funds. In addition to that, a couple of things. One is, it's my understanding that we will be getting access to a regional planning commission study beginning this summer for about $80,000 for a scoping project for our town center improvements, which can include some things other than straight up sidewalk, traffic calming options, and so on and so forth. I don't know for sure whether or not this would look at additional pedestrian facilities, bike facilities on River Road. It may. But we will need the results of that scoping study to apply for any other funds. So it's going to put us in a little bit of a squeaky position of actually getting, between getting the results of that study, having them available, doing the engineering. So there will be that directly associated with that. There's another piece of most transportation projects, which will be right of way. My guess is we are going to need some right-of-way acquisition to handle, if nothing else, the slope easements and that sort of thing there in that section between the school and the pond. So funds could be available for that. So in any case, I think it makes a lot of sense to put pretty much as we can toward this and see if we can flesh out the funding. I am convinced that Brad's estimate is, if anything, a little on the low side, given some of the issues we're going to be running up against in the way these projects are costing. And it'll really help us to have this available for the 20% match and things that aren't so easily handled, possibly, for example, right-of-way acquisition. So that would be my take. Whatever we can put toward it, I think it makes a lot of sense for all the reasons that people have said before.
So Emily, you have some
Yeah.
thoughts on the sidewalk.
So my question about this has more to do with timeline than anything else. Like, part of me thinks that this process is not necessarily about, at the end of the day, the town is going to have to figure out where the money's coming from. Like, is it coming from ARPA funds? Like, our choices what we're doing is trying to decide like where the ARPA funds are going to be spent. Like this particular pool of money, not necessarily whether it's the town's priority or not to have a sidewalk, like they're related, but not necessarily the same. But my worry about this is that all those other funds it's my understanding, take like quite a long time to acquire. So I was just wondering about the timeline. Like, if I personally don't remember where we left it, where like what happens with the funds, like if it's not enough to build, and we know that building and getting these other sources of funding is going to take much, much longer than the ARPA funds need to be allocated. I'm just not seeing how that falls into like how if I just don't understand. I mean, I just don't, like, I'm not a town employee. I just don't understand how that would be helpful if we can't get the funds until after the ARPA deadline is over. You know what I mean? So I
You're
was just
right, it
more
would
asking
not.
the question,
Yep.
So I think that we're showing strong support for the sidewalk. I think we want to do that. If there's a way to leverage ARPA so we can get more money from other places, I think that's worth it. And we should advocate for that. But it's like we haven't really explored all those avenues of funding and how long it would take to get those things. And, the rec committee doesn't necessarily have the capacity to do that. So there's going to have to be some, way of doing that. And it's not clear to me how that's going to happen.
Emily, I think you're exactly right. I'm expecting that the town is going to pull together some kind of a, basically, or either a supervisory committee or a review group or something like that. Against my better judgment, I'm willing to help with that, to juggle those things. I have worked with regional planning. In fact, I was transportation planning director there for a number of years. That was quite a few years ago now, almost 20. So my knowledge and base is not exactly 100% current, but I have worked with those folks. And while these things have tended to take a fair length of time, I think that it could go reasonably quickly. And at the very least, I think we should be shooting to get the segment from the school to the pond into construction within the ARPA timeframe. And I think that that's may be a bit of a stretch, but not inconceivable.
I agree with that assessment.
Anyone else? So
Jennifer has her hand up.
oh, Jennifer.
Emily, I guess what I wanted to say as a town employee is a couple things about how I think this can be achieved. First of all, I think by this committee putting this number 1 on the list, as it will be presented next Thursday, is sending a very clear message to the select board and future select boards that the community and the residents of Underhill have spoken, and the sidewalk is a high priority. It was the highest priority. It was the number 1 rating by this committee. It was the most the highest number of proposals that came in were all related to this. So first off, and I think most importantly, is that we're recommending that we allocate basically 1/3 of the funds to this project. So it's a clear statement. Secondly, if we are nearing that final hurdle, or that final date at the end of 2026, and the money hasn't been spent specifically on the sidewalk, as long as the town and the community and the residents and the select board understand that the majority of people want this sidewalk built and it's a priority, then these funds can be used for something else. And the balance of what's left to be done on the sidewalk will have to go into the budget and be voted on by the residents. But because it's been a priority and because it's been emphasized, it won't be a stretch when it comes to vote on the budget. And there's a couple $100,000 left, or there's whatever's left. I think people will say, okay, we've gotten this far. This was a priority back in, 2023. It hasn't been completed, but we've been through the feasibility study. We've been through the engineering. We've got this section built, and clearly it's a priority. So when we either have to bond or borrow money or raise taxes to finish it, I think we're sending a clear message that this is a priority to the community.
Okay, great. Thanks for that explanation. I mean, that makes more sense to me. And, I think we need to realize that with this, that this may not play out with exactly how the money gets distributed from ARPA, but it's more of a prioritization of, what we could use that money for. So yeah, that's helpful.
I have a
So,
couple of comments,
sure.
or mostly I happen to be the property owner of the slope for most of the slope. So I don't think there'll be too much trouble with that right of way issue. And then also I know in the past we talked about if that money needed to be out of the coffers of the town within the time limit, but it seemed like there was sort of a possibility of creating a little nonprofit with a bank account to stash that money in for the project as a workaround. So I think one way or another the money would be made use of if the select board were to decide to do it that way.
So Luke and Roy, do you have any comments?
No, I'm fine with the proposal. I think it's important. We're going to convey that that's our top priority and proceed as Jen mentioned.
Nothing further than what I responded to via email.
Okay, so obviously I've been giving this a lot of thought as we have been discussing this. And I, again, really think that we are really making a statement when we're giving 1/3 of the money to the sidewalk project and we put it at the top of the list and we make $200,000 or even more available. One of my concerns have been is, you know, Jennifer outlined exactly what can happen with the money and everything. I'm more concerned in the fact that we actually get going on this project and that people know that we're going on the project. So I am willing, when I meet with the select board a week from tonight, is to not only emphasize these things about the money that we're allocating, but that we really think that the select board should form a committee similar to this one to oversee getting grants and getting the sidewalk built and using the money. For more than one reason is people in town that really want the sidewalk certainly would like to have somebody, something, someplace that they can go ask the question, how's the sidewalk project coming? Right now, I don't think anyone knows who you'd ask that question to, or if you could even get an answer to it. So we need that kind of advisory committee. So my recommendation to the select board, besides allocating the money out of the ARPA funds, is to form this committee and to ensure that at least 2 members from this committee are on that committee to carry along this this idea.
Does that step on
I can-
anyone's toes? I was
I'm
just
sorry.
going to ask, does that step on anyone's toes in town hall? In other words, does anybody in town hall feel that they have the lead on this? That's what I don't know.
Jennifer.
I spoke briefly with Bill about this, and my recommendation, I agreed with him that this was a really great idea, is that he request staff support from Nick Atherton, who is the town zoning and planning administrator, because he's the one who applied for the feasibility a grant for the sidewalk, and he's really excited about making this sidewalk happen. And you know, he's a new employee, so he doesn't know all the history of the sidewalk stuff, but he is super excited about making it happen and making it kind of like making it basically his legacy of what he accomplishes here in Underhill. So
Yeah, I think what both of you guys are proposing is, I mean, that's a great idea because, I mean, as somebody who's been involved with pushing a lot of projects through the rec committee, I mean, you know, the last project that we did was the town pond, and we're like, this is ridiculous. You know, like we're all parents, you know, we have full-time jobs. We don't have time to manage a project like redoing the drainage and dredging the town pond. He was like, we were like, next time there needs to be like a project manager because those are big projects, and like a little committee like rec committee doesn't have we got a lot of other things going on. We don't have time to manage a big project like that. So I think it doesn't seem like the town necessarily has the capacity for like extra projects because there's already enough like kind of operational things that need to happen in the town. So I think, you guys are like spot on with needing a committee for that. And I think that's a great idea. And obviously people on the rec committee would be willing to participate in that.
Other comments? So my suggestion is that we leave the $200,000 there for now, go through our list, and eventually we're going to come down and see if there's any money left over and then decide where we're going to put this. And just to let you know up front that I went through all the other proposals that we haven't funded, and I just don't think that we need to add another proposal, that we should, if we have money left over, decide to put it into one or more of the ones that we already have here, the 13 that we have. Or 14, 13, 14, however many there are.
So, question? I think that's probably a good idea, but the question I have is, do we intend to pass along to the select board the also rans in case they run into trouble with expending funds?
The select board gets a packet for people who are going to present to the select board. They need to give the select board members some information beforehand. And the packet that Jen and I are going to work on tomorrow morning for them is going to include this. I'm pointing at Luke's report here. Luke's report, and it's going to, and I'm going to make it very clear that this is the way we expect to publicize the funding. Number one, I'm going to give them the spreadsheet that has all 53 projects on it. So without the emails and the names and some of this other stuff, but so that obviously I'm going to tell them we had 53 projects. Here they are. Then there's also going to be a spreadsheet that just has the ones that we ranked, that went down to, I don't remember how many it was, but remember we ranked, we got rid of some of the projects and then we ranked the ones that were left over and we averaged those and that. So that's the information, the data that I'm giving them. And then there's a presentation, in PowerPoint form that I am giving them in advance. And the majority of that, the first part of the presentation is going to be patting ourselves on the back for the work we did. What a wonderful work we did. How many things came in, how we solicited projects, how we went through. And in fact, I have one sheet that just has these multiple boxes, that there were 53 proposals. There were X number that came in later. The fire department put in 4 proposals, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So to go through, to sort of set them up for when I give them the list of the proposals that we're recommending for funding. And then I'm also going to have the actual proposals of these 13 that we're recommending for funding. We're going to email them the actual proposals if they want to see it. because I'm not going to go into, real great depth what each one is and what they're doing and everything. It's going to be an overview of it. And okay, that's it.
So Bill, do
I
you
think
want
that
to
sounds
go,
great.
do you want to go down this list so that you guys can make a final vote about the money and the recommendations, or how do you want
Yes,
to do
but
this?
not on this one, the one you had on before that has Luke's and my columns. It's easier to read, that one. So this is the list of the 14. And let's go down the column and just review them. So the second one is the town hall renovations. I also will detail to the select board, that this is made up of, 4 or 5 proposals and what they are. I am not going to go through all the sidewalk proposals. You remember that we grouped together. I'm just going to leave that as the sidewalk project. So
I think that's a good idea.
I think that $138,000 came from actually adding up the 4 different proposals, didn't it, Jen?
Yes, I just switched it over. That's the town hall improvements, electric upgrade, town hall generator, and lighting upgrade.
Yep.
138. Hold on. Yep, that's it.
So now, obviously, we could add some money in here for overruns, for things that, come up afterwards. I mean, it doesn't have to be the exact amount they ask for. Okay, the Harvest Crossing project, $100,000. And these are sorted now by the amount
By
of
the
money we
ratings.
paid. Had to come up with some way to sort it, so I thought that was a good way. The town hall solar panel installation. So Michael, do you think this is a pretty hard and fast number, or is it going to be on the low side?
Hard and fast numbers are hard, but not necessarily fast. I felt like it was a pretty good estimate.
Okay. So the question then comes in is, if there's an overrun, where does the money come from?
Maybe we should put down a final element that addresses this 32,000 and says, overruns on projects.
Might be a way to do it, but
Not a bad idea.
but that would
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Well, let me ask you then, what if I don't know, the playground and garden upgrades at the school has an overrun? Would they be able to tap into that fund also?
I think since it's the town doing it, that fund would be available for any of these projects.
Okay.
Except presumably either the ones where we're just giving money for some purpose, but where it's a project like the sidewalk or like the solar panels or like the town hall improvements or any of those that are actually implementing, getting contractors in and doing something, then if there's an overrun, I think that's not a bad idea, not a bad way to allocate those funds.
So the next one is the HVAC upgrades to the library. This is our portion of it. I'm also very strongly actually, I'm telling the select board that they need to meet with the Jericho select board to come up with joint amounts of money so that the whole project can get done.
Hey, Bill, to clarify, is it this board's inclination or feeling or decision that, just to clarify, that regardless of whether Jericho ponies up, this committee is recommending our share of the funding as indicated on this spreadsheet?
I think we approved that at our last meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Yes.
We did.
Yes.
The one thing we weren't clear about is whether for any of these projects, if they were modest, for example, the Mills River, if we would actually spring for Jericho's portion if they didn't do it.
Yep.
As I recall, we did clarify that, and our workaround was if Jericho does not spring for that half, we make our contribution. We don't increase our contribution, but if the receiving organization didn't feel like that was enough to complete the original project, they could use it for other purposes. All right, we didn't want to have a third of the parking lot fixed or a third of an HVAC system, but we still wanted to contribute money to those organizations, and then they would make decisions about how to spend it if Jericho did not match with their contribution.
Well said,
That's my
Luke.
recollection.
That's exactly how I remember it, Luke. So the next one is the town hall generator, which will be moved down the list when I redo this. The town pond park improvements is the two things for the playground at the pond and the tennis backboard.
Playground structure and rebound wall.
Oh, rebound wall. Okay. The fire department, is it 3 or 4 proposals that they put in, Jen? Do you have that? Anyway,
It's 3 proposals. It's the life safety equipment, the repeater, and the digital radio upgrades for several of their trucks that were
Yep.
the older trucks that didn't have the digital radios.
well, I forgot to put repeater on that list. So the the school PTO had two major projects. One is the playground and garden upgrades, and the other was new playground equipment. And this one, what we approved was the $22,000 for the playground and garden upgrades. Is that, Luke, is there anything else I should add to what they're planning to do?
I don't think so. I mean, it might be worth mentioning that they requested like $250,000. So we made a pretty major reduction in that. But again, we want them to have the flexibility to prioritize that. And the PTO is going to manage funding using those funds in a way that matches their priorities.
Okay, very good. I have a question, Luke, again for you on this next one, the recreation paths around the school. Are these new paths? Are they updated paths? Or are there some of each?
It's some of each. So what this funding is for is step one of a 2-step plan, mostly to repair, expand, and make handicap accessible the existing paths through the woods at UCS and extend that to be like one loop all the way around the big field. And then the organization has a plan for a second phase to build new trails in that area, make some more biking specific features and things like that, but that they will fund elsewhere. But I actually heard from Nick Tanner, who put this in. They've received their final approval from the school and are ready to start this as soon as the money hits their account, if it hits their account.
So there is no new paths in this amount of money.
There is an extension of the existing paths to make it handicap accessible and repair some that exist but are not usable at the moment.
Okay, very good. So on the planning commission one to digitize town records, I think when I was chatting talking points down, I said the committee feels that it's about time that we finally finish this project.
That sounds
So
good to me.
the next one is the road and parking upgrades at Mills Riverside Park. This again is the 40% amount. The next one is a donation to the Underhill Food Shelf. And remember this, the amount was put in based on their work on next year's budget. But I can tell you in working with the food shelf, any amount we can give them would be greatly appreciated and help the people that need it. And then the last one is the disc golf course, which again, I'm stressing as a recreation item for people in both towns to be able to use. So after I get through doing all of these, I'm also going to emphasize, obviously, I'm going to come right out and tell them I think they should approve all of them, obviously, because that's what we agree with. But as we've noted here, there are many of these projects is geared to get started right away and to probably be completed yet this summer. And you know, these the bike paths and the disc golf course and some of the others are things that people are going to be able to use right away. So the sooner that we can get the money to them, the better. Plus the fact that to get things to actually get working on them, they have to be ordered. They got things to do. Okay, so that leaves us at $663,000, $32,000 unallocated. There's been a couple suggestions of what to do with the 32,000. I'm open for discussion on that.
I move that we include it as overage kind of funds, overrun funds. That's about 5% of our total. That's not a hell of a lot when you come down, when you think about the possibilities of cost overruns. And I think that would be a wonderful way to think about it.
So the 32,200?
That would be my motion.
Okay. Other comments?
I agree with that.
Very good. Roy?
I'm on board.
Jill? Emily?
Yes. Yep, I'm on board.
Okay, very good. I will come up with Jennifer and I tomorrow will come up with a clever name for that project that will just knock their socks off on that they have to approve everything. Okay, that's very good.
Does this committee want to make a motion to accept
No,
these
just a minute.
numbers?
Just a minute, Jennifer. This is what I want you to do. I would like the motion to include all these numbers that we have, but instead of having to do that, I'm going to have Jennifer go down and read the amount for each project, and then someone can make a motion that that's what we approve. Okay, Jennifer, read them off.
Town of Underhill sidewalk project, 200,000.
So moved.
Yes.
Aye.
Now, let's not approve them one by one. Let her read all of them. We'll do one motion.
Okay.
That would be easy.
Town of Underhill Town Hall renovations at 138,000 and $3 rounding. United Church of Underhill and Habitat for Humanity, the Harvest Crossing project at 100,000. The Underhill Energy Committee, as presented for the Town Hall solar panel installation at 49,500. The Jericho Underhill Library District, Deborah Rawson Memorial Library, HVAC upgrades, 44,800. The Underhill Highway Department Town Garage Generator at 10,000. The Underhill Recreation Committee Town Pond Park improvements at $31,000. The Jericho Underhill Fire Department life safety equipment, radio upgrades, and the repeaters at $23,600. The UCS PTO playground and garden upgrades at $22,000. Brewster River Mountain Bike Club UCS trails upgrades and repairs at $18,000. The Underhill Planning Commission digitization of town records, $13,000. Jericho Underhill Park District, Mills Riverside Park, driveway and parking upgrades at $6,500. The Essex Jericho Underhill food shelf at $3,800. Browns River Middle School disc golf course at the middle school, $3,000. And the lump sum of the remainder of the balance of the ARPA funds at $32,200 to fund any overruns on the above items.
So moved.
Michael moves. Second, please.
Second, Roy.
Roy seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous? Great job, committee.
Thanks, everyone.
I have really enjoyed being a part of this committee and working with you all. We did a great job. We can pat ourselves on the back. And right after the, obviously, if anybody wants to come to the select board meeting next week, you're welcome to, or you can come online. I am going to be on very early in the meeting after 6 o'clock. So as an indication of when that is, the meeting's over, I will definitely email each of you to tell you how it went.
Thank you, Bill, this has been great. You've done a great job in keeping this committee working here, and you and Jennifer working together. I really appreciate that. I would like to attend that meeting. Unfortunately, I'm already scheduled into a different meeting, so I apologize.
Any other comments? Motion to adjourn?
Before you adjourn, I just want to say it's been great getting to know all of you guys who I didn't already know. And I really appreciate all the time and energy that you put into this committee. And I fully expect the select board to hear what Bill presents on Thursday night and make a decision. And I promise you that I will make sure that I do everything I can to execute these projects as you requested.
Great. Thanks to you and Bill for your leadership. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. Other comments? Motion to adjourn, Jill?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Good night.
Hi,
Good night.
thank you.